The Wrestling with the Future podcast network proudly presents Wrestling with the Future. I'm your host, Angelo Mad Dog DeCipio, joined as I am every week by Michael Murphy, the man called Armageddon. Murphy, how are you, my brother?
Let me say, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another week of hot wrestling talk. We're going to take your calls. We're going to hear your opinions. What your opinions are of wrestling in the future.
What happened to Michael Murphy? Have you seen my co-host? Who are you? Wow. Man, you are on your best behavior tonight.
Yes, I am.
Let me introduce our special guest that will be taking this raunchy road trip with us tonight. She is a woman who made a name for herself as a super fan in the greater Fargo, North Dakota area and all points in between. And she's shaking her head no.
I actually live in Arkansas.
Oh, okay. Oh, you broadcast out of Fargo.
Yeah, we broadcast out of Fargo. So
that's right. You and I actually talked about that, Randy.
Yeah.
You were working with a group that I was familiar with in Arkansas and Tennessee, correct?
Well, I have a lot of friends that wrestle in Arkansas and Tennessee, so
yeah, we have talked about that. And you were involved in well, tell everybody who this group is we're talking about.
Well, okay, I know a lot of different wrestling groups. I mean, who were you referring to?
All of them.
All of them? Well,
all of them.
I mean, well, I know, for, well, let's see, there was a company that ran in Arkansas called Traditional Championship Wrestling. They quit running in 2013.
Right.
It used to be known as Mid-South Wrestling, and then
Sure,
they changed the name. People like Greg Anthony, Matt Riviera, Tim Storm.
Absolutely.
The list goes on and on and on. They used to do TV tapings, and they still show the old reruns of Traditional Championship Wrestling on TV in the Little Rock area. They quit running in 2013.
Yeah.
But before we get all this started, Angelo, I think the fans would like to know who I am.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody who you are. LAURIE BURT, affectionately known as Granny Hulkster, and I'm going to be very careful choosing my words here. She is the elder statesman. She's the elder statesman of pro wrestling fandom.
Well, I'm very proud of my age, fans, and hello out there. Welcome to the podcast. I am LAURIE BURT. I am affectionately known as Granny Hulkster in the independent wrestling world. I'm 59 years old. I'm 59 years old. Very proud of it. I've been a wrestling fan. Gosh, I don't. How many years? I mean, a long time. I've been a wrestling fan.
Well, here's what we're gonna let's do this. Why don't we do this? When did the wrestling bug bite you? At what point in your life did you say, I like this shit? This is pretty good.
Well, like I said, even in my younger years, when I lived in Kansas, I wasn't very far from the Kansas City area, so I was very familiar with the names of Harley Race, Bob Geigel.
Oh, sure.
Rufus R. Jones, Bulldog Bob Brown, Greg the Hammer Valentine. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Sure.
I moved to Arkansas in 1988. I moved here with my parents. I lived in a place over near Eureka Springs called Holiday Island. My son, Anthony Watkins, he wasn't quite 2 years old. I was a single mom. I moved to Springdale, where I currently live now with my husband, and my son moved back to Springdale. He lived in Rogers, Arkansas, and he moved back to Springdale a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I will be married 12 years.
Wow.
19th of this month.
You're a newlywed.
Well, 12 years, yeah, I guess you could call us a newlywed. We've been together since December 19th of 2003 is when we got together.
There you go.
And we all liked wrestling. I mean, my husband likes it, my son likes
Beautiful.
it, I like it. And we would go to independent wrestling shows, and just to kind of give you a little background.
Well, here's the thing. Before you get too far ahead of yourself.
Okay.
Because I know being in radio, you like to talk and take over a show, but you're not going to do that
I don't
here.
take over a show. Hey, I don't even do that on Icon show. I don't even do that on Attitude Era Live. I only talk.
When you're working with Scott, the Icon, you can't get a word in edgewise. I understand.
That's true.
I had him on my show. I had to shut him down. Ask Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
I'm not about doing that either, by the way. So here, let's talk about this. So you go to a few local shows. You make some friends with the guys. They like you. Your name and your reputation start getting around. Little birdie whispered in my ear today that you actually kind of worked for some of these groups as a manager, as a valet, kind of. So give me a little heads up.
Well, I never really worked as a manager or a valet. I get very interactive with the wrestlers. I don't like the heels. I can talk some pretty good smack to the heels when I have to. I do not like the bad guys.
Well, I heard that too.
I do not
She's
like
not
the bad
like me.
Don't like the bad guys. I mean, they tell me to sit down and shut up before I break a hip, or they'll say, don't you have a curfew at the nursing home? And I told one wrestler one time, I grabbed my keys out of my purse and I had my keys in my fist. I said, baby, I don't need no curfew. I got keys to the building. And he ran off screaming. Now, I can tell you that I've been handcuffed to a manager before at Wrestling for a Cause because he was interfering.
That's kind of where I was. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. I want you. I heard that story. Tell everybody that story. How you got yourself involved in being handcuffed to a professional wrestler.
Well,
Angela, before
he wasn't
started,
really. He's just the manager type guy. Wrestling for a Cause is an organization that's been around 10 years.
Yeah.
They do independent shows out of the Oklahoma area for kids fighting childhood cancer.
Yeah.
And being that I love kids the way that I do, my heart and passion just goes out to that organization. So before the show, this tag team, Sam Stackhouse and Drake Gallows, were wrestling against London Calling. Okay. And their manager, Richard Pierce, he always likes to try to interfere.
Sure.
So Drake told me before the show, he says, Granny, we're going to handcuff you to Pierce tonight. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I just blew it off, whatever. Yeah. Well, they did. They handcuffed me to Pierce.
Yeah, I heard that.
During the match.
Mr. Murphy has a question for you. Go ahead, Murph.
Well, it's not so much a question, but let me tell you something, Angela. Let me put it to you like this. Okay, yes, she doesn't like the heels. I am a heel. I am the heel of heels.
I don't have fun playing with you.
And I don't know who these nobodies are that she's talking about because they're not in my league. I've held multiple titles. I've beaten anybody that put their name on the contract. She don't like heels. So that means she obviously doesn't like me.
We should also tell Granny that Nikolai Volkov had his retirement match with you.
Yes, he did. Well, and I almost beat him to death.
But he let you live.
Let me go a little bit further here. Okay. Sure. That same day that we did that show, I'm good friends with Trevor Murdoch, the current NWA heavyweight champion.
Sure, I know Trevor is.
Okay, well, I'm very good for Trevor Murdoch. I'm very good friends with him.
I don't know him. He's not my league.
Well, that's too bad. Anyways, he was doing a training seminar for Tim for WFC before the show that day, and we were lucky enough to be able to be there.
Sure.
So Trevor was telling the guys how to work the crowd. He says, go to Granny, use her as your goal, make her mad, piss her off. I mean, just like on and on and on. Okay. So anyways, I have something that I want to share with you.
Sure.
A good friend of mine who was a wrestler, he retired from wrestling a couple years ago. His independent wrestling name was Running Wolf. And 2 years ago, he posted something on my Facebook page. He said, it's funny when you get a better pop and you're more recognizable than most professional wrestlers.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a compliment, that as a compliment because of what you do. He says they all should really take notes.
You know what? You bring up a good point. Mr. Murphy and I are very familiar with a super fan in our area that people affectionately called the Hat Guy from ECW.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually have a story about the Hat Guy.
We're going to talk. I know you do. That's why I mentioned him. Other thing is those super fans that we call, and I love the super fan because they can make or break a building. They really can.
Yes,
they can.
Very true.
And so we're going to. That's why I wanted you on here because I want to find out what you think of the current state of affairs in wrestling, both on a professional level and the indies. So tell the rest of your story because we got some questions, Mr. Murphy and I.
Okay. Well, so anyways, you know how the Facebook memory things, pop up, and here it popped up the other day, and he shared it, and he says, still very true today. When you mention the name Granny Hulkster, LAURIE Burt, and the name, Arkansas, Stairs of Arkansas and Oklahoma, most fans will recognize her and know her before they know the current professional wrestler.
Exactly. And that was the case with ECW. There were people who knew John the Hat Guy, but had no idea who the hell was in the ring. It's amazing. It really is. So we have a pretty good idea who Granny Hulkster is. My question, we're going to start off this roundtable tonight, and I'm going to start off with Mr. Murphy, actually, on this one. So you heard Granny, you heard how she got involved in the business and how she is still today a fan. Tell Granny from your perspective, Murph, why you find yourself not being a fan, having been a guy who did wrestle for 25 years.
Okay, as far as not being a fan, first off, I don't care about the fans. Fans never did nothing for me. I won my titles, especially the NCW All-Star World Heavyweight Championship. I got that title without the help of the fans. Okay?
I know, because I gave it to you.
That's right. And it was well earned. It was well earned. I don't care what anybody says. It was well earned.
Absolutely.
Anyway. No, and now I'm kidding. I'm obviously kidding around here.
Hold on, Murph.
I'm obviously
works. You know how it works.
Yeah, I'm obviously doing a work here, and that's cool. I have fun with it.
And I know you. But here's the thing, and I said that for a reason, and I want people to understand something. What you see in the ring is far more real than you realize.
Oh, definitely.
The work takes place backstage.
Yes, most definitely.
Office. That's where the work takes place. That's who's working each other. The boss and the workers are working each other.
Oh, most definitely.
Out in the ring in front of people, Mr. Murphy's got nobody to answer to but himself and those people. That's it.
That's it. And see, the thing of it is, Angelo, a lot of people don't realize, a lot of the fans don't realize that what they see happening during an event or a show, however you want to title it, what they see, that's the finished product.
Yeah.
They don't see what goes in, the hours in the gym, the blood, sweat, and tears, coming back from the injuries, working out a match, the match being able to tell a story. They don't see that. They see two guys in the head or in the ring, excuse me. They see two guys in the ring ripping each other's heads off.
Yeah.
That's the finished product. And that's what they say.
Go ahead, Randy.
Oh,
Granny's looking like she has something to say.
I was just listening to what he was saying because, there was another time where Trevor had done another seminar with Tim. It was the first one he actually did with Tim, and we were there because I always took merchandise for Tim to Wrestling for a Cause. I would pick up T-shirts for him, and he was talking about, how to work the crowd and everything. And he says, and then you have people like that God-fearing, loving woman, Granny Hulkster over there, and he was going on, and then he was talking about, and he says, and then you have the smart marks, and he was kind of pointing over towards me, and I said, Trevor, I don't know everything, and I thought Tim was going to fall off the ring rope laughing. He says, he looked at me, he says, darling, he says, you know more than most. And,
Yes.
you know, I mean, and I had a very good friend that day tell me, and he's a manager for Mid-States Wrestling. He manages a couple of the wrestlers for Mid-States Wrestling from time to time. He goes by the name of Stephen E. I call him Stephanie.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so anyways, he says, you know, Granny, he says, you, David, and Anthony, you know, Anthony's my son, David's my husband. He says, you all are part of that extended wrestling family, because
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you something. You said a few things there that did not go unnoticed by me, and we're going to talk about them for a little bit. Having a wrestler refer to you as a smart mark. Mr. Murphy will tell you there are two things that you'll never find in the wrestling business. Someone smart and someone that's a mark. Okay? Because if you're smart, you're not a mark, and if you're a mark, you're not smart. Okay?
Well, Angelo, I've always learned, and I learned this from the man who trained me, WWE Hall of Famer Alpha Hawaii.
Yep.
He told me my first day of training, he says, son, I want you to learn one thing right now. Wrestlers are stupid people. And I looked at him and I said, what? He said, because if we were smart,
that's what he said.
We wouldn't be in this
Randy's
business.
Looking like she doesn't believe you. That is.
No, I know. I do believe him. I
do
believe him. I do believe him. You know, I do believe him.
Wrestlers are stupid people.
Because if we were smart, we wouldn't be in this business.
There you go.
I was at a show. I was at a show one time, and a little boy had a poster. It said, "Wrestling is real. People are fake." And I love that poster.
That
is spot on.
More right than you know.
That is spot on.
It's absolutely spot on. He is far more right than people realize. The state of professional wrestling today, and I made myself real clear on the show about it, and everybody who listens to this show, and by the way, thank you for our 5th million download. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. 266 radio stations worldwide, 304 podcast platforms worldwide. Awesome. And an average listening audience of 500,000 a month. And that's not bad for two wrestling shows a month.
Yep, that's pretty good.
Not too bad. And we've got 5 shows on this network. But and I had to put us over, not like I really have to, but here's the thing though. And it's important that people understand this. You're dealing today with an evolutionary process. Wrestling is bouncing back from the brink of death. It's not there yet. It's not there yet. It's breathing. The lungs are inhaling and exhaling, but the legs are still a little shaky. They're still a little weak. Can't quite stand up yet. But wrestling is certainly back from the brink of death. Thankfully, AEW and Ring of Honor and New Japan and AEW they're all bringing breath into this dying art form. Were it not for Vince McMahon, basically killed wrestling. And I'm going to say this again for probably the 500th time. Vince McMahon's father, Vince McMahon Sr., actually Vincent James McMahon. He's actually not a senior. Vince McMahon, the elder, was a wrestling promoter. Understand what I'm telling you. He was a wrestling and boxing promoter. His son is embarrassed to be in the wrestling business and has always been embarrassed to be in the wrestling business. And he will not acknowledge that he's in the wrestling business. He's in the entertainment business. That company used to be called the World Wrestling Federation. Now it's World Wrestling Entertainment. And I say, if you're going to be honest and full disclosure, take the fucking wrestling out of your fucking name, because what you do is no semblance of fucking wrestling, Vince. It's not even fucking close. Okay? It's not wrestling, jackass. Now,
I want to say,
go for it.
I want to say, first
I'm
off,
getting on a tirade here. Go ahead, brother.
and that's fine. And I'm going to back that up what you said, Angela. When I worked for you, when I worked for other companies, I was a professional wrestler. I was not a professional entertainer.
Nope.
Professional wrestling is on life support. Professional entertainment is dead. Its spirit is gone, if it ever had one. Okay? I was a professional wrestler. Okay? I took on all comers. Whoever the manager or whoever the promoter said, you're getting in the ring with this guy tonight. That's who I got in the ring with. I didn't bitch. I didn't complain. Oh, well, he's not going to put me over, or his gimmick is better. No, shut up.
Who gives a fuck? You're getting paid at the end of the night, asshole.
And
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, what pisses me off is, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. Yeah. I see these kids in the business, I call them kids because I'm old enough to call them kids. Mm-hmm. They're jumping around, they're doing high-flying moves, and nobody's selling anything.
Nope.
If you can't sell a move, you don't need to be in the business. Simple as that.
Get out of the business. Go work McDonald's, and go work at the bakery. Say welcome to Walmart. Do any number of things, but get out of the fucking wrestling business. Okay.
Now I have a question.
And thank you for saying that. I ran a wrestling company. I did not run a sports entertainment company. For 24 years of my life, I gave my heart, my soul, my money, my blood to this company. Okay?
Yes.
And guys like Mike Murphy helped keep me afloat and alive, and had people filling asses in seats. Because that's what we do. We put asses in seats, and a lot of seats and a lot of asses. That's what we do. Okay? One of the things that if I could find the person who came up with this, I'm going to smack him. The idea of 50-50 booking, that never existed. We never heard of 50-50 booking in my day. Okay? And I'm just a few years younger than Granny. I'm 63. Okay? 50-50 booking is for people who can't wrestle, can't work, can't get over, can't tell a story, can't get themselves over, get the company over. They can't sell merch. Nobody will know who the fuck you are in a year. 50 years ago, there was a guy named Gorgeous George. Everybody remembers who he is.
Oh, yeah.
Lou Thez, Nick Bockwinkel, Bruno Sammartino, Superstar Billy Graham, Pedro Morales, the Iron Sheik,
Jay Strongbow,
Chief Jay Strongbow. They knew who these people were. Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Ric Flair. Their people were still talking about them 50 fucking years later. Okay? Nobody's going to know who the fuck Stephen E. is, and they'll probably think his name is fucking Stephanie. Okay? Some fucking whack job from Podunk, Iowa, or Missouri, or where the fuck he's from. I don't know who you are, Stephen E. I don't really give a shit who you are, because you're not making any money from me and Murph. All right?
I told a kid in a locker room one time.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to go out and do our work.
Yep. And
he's like, "Oh, well, I got to do something to get over. I said, first off, let me tell you something, kid. I said, I'm going to help you get over. Okay, first off, I said, I'm going to make you look strong. I'm going to help you get over. I said, first off, this is a professional wrestling show. The people that are in the audience don't give a shit who you are, except for the people that you sold tickets to or your family that's sitting in the audience. Other than that, they don't give a shit who you are, because once you leave, Once they get up and leave the arena, by the time it takes them to go from their seat to their car, they've forgotten who you are. Okay?
Exactly.
This is indie circuit wrestling. If you can't get over, well, there's always Barber College.
Absolutely. Granny,
Yes.
talk to me. Am I just a disgruntled old fart?
No.
So
I was just listening to your own
wrong if I say to Laurie Burt, Laurie, here is the pen, here is the book. You are responsible for booking. You're responsible for angles and storytelling. What's the first thing you do for Vince McMahon's WWE? What's the first fucking thing you do?
Well,
You got
first
the
of
book
all,
now.
first of all, I would not want to be a booker because I know how much work is involved in trying to do that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want that responsibility. But being the fan that I am, I don't know everything. And like I said, to the listeners out there, I am just me. I'm not a wrestler. Despite the fact I've had a few wrestlers threaten to throw me in the ring a few times, I am not a wrestler. Okay, just throwing that out there, everybody. I am not a wrestler, even though I like to.
The point is, and Granny is making it clear she's not a wrestler, but I will tell you, she's getting bigger pops than some of the boys. Okay.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt.
Let that shit sink in. Let that shit sink fuck in.
I mean, because the promoters, I've been to like one WWE show in my life. I mean, my family and I went like to Tulsa 3 or 4 years ago, and it was a great show. But I like the indie shows because I can interact with these guys. Now,
absolutely.
Now, when TCW ran, I got to meet and I got to know a lot of great names in the business.
Right.
My family and I were friends with beautiful Bobby Eaton, God rest his soul.
Yeah. Well, hold on a second. Forget the name dropping because we're not here to name drop.
Okay.
I want you to talk about what I give you the pencil. What do you do? You haven't even begun to answer that question yet. So let's get to the question.
Well,
so go for it. What do you do?
You have to talk to these wrestlers. You have to find out who they are. You need to find out a little bit,
There's a novel approach, Murphy. Hey, Murphy, there's a novel approach, getting to know your employees.
Well, Angelo, I helped the guy put a show together, and I had the rule. As a matter of fact, you were sitting there the night when I wrote up the list. We were at your house over in Jersey.
Yep, I remember.
And I got on the mic before the show started, before we let the fans in. I got on about an hour before the show started. I said, "This is who was booked on this show," and I called out the names. I said, "If your name was not called, you are more than welcome to stay for the show, but you will pay half price for a ticket." Simple as that. I told the wrestlers. I told each wrestler that was in each match. We had the card set up. I said, "This is how many minutes you're going. This is who's over."
Absolutely.
And if you can't do that, then we'll replace you.
Absolutely. Don't need you.
Yeah, simple as that.
No time for prima donnas, no time for egos.
Well, that's the problem. See, a lot of guys in the indies, and I'm not saying all, a lot of guys in the indies, their ego shows up to the arena 20 minutes before they do.
Sure.
And they think that they're a superstar. And it's like, hey, I hate to tell you something, guy. Vince McMahon is not banging down your door to come work for him. So you're in the indies, you're putting so-and-so over, even though you're bigger than him, stronger than him, you're putting him over, and that's the way it goes tonight.
Sure.
Simple as that.
Absolutely.
A lot of promoters make things, and I'm not saying all.
Yeah.
As Angelo, as a promoter, you drew the line in the sand. You said this is how it's going to go, and you gained a lot of my respect doing that. But a lot of these guys, it's like a lot of these promoters, they let themselves get bullied by the work. Well, I want this much time in the ring. I want this much time on the mic. No, you go on the mic if I tell you to go on the mic.
And that's how you know how I roll.
Right.
I'm the boss. I'm paying you. You're not paying me. Here's the thing, and I want Granny to understand this. And if you're able, in whatever avenues you have available to you, if you're able to get this message across, I implore you to do so. People have said historically, wrestling is not a team sport. I disagree wholeheartedly. Wrestling is very much a team sport.
Yes.
You have to work with your partner. You both have to work with the referee. They have to work with the promoter, who in turn takes out of his pocket money to pay you for working for him.
Yes.
Understand that. They don't work for you. You work for him. And you work for the guy who busted his ass 40 hours that week and took home $290 and is going to spend 60 of it tonight at your show.
Right.
But maybe his kid wants an autographed picture. And maybe his other kid wants a hot dog and a Coke for $6 a pop. Okay?
Yeah.
Do that a couple of times a night. All right?
Well, you see,
I have a
Angelo,
lot of respect for those guys that are plunking down $60, $80 to an indie show. You know?
and you see, Angelo, that's the thing that a lot of the younger guys, a lot of these kids in the business now, unfortunately, aren't learning.
No.
See, when I came through the business,
Mike, here's the thing, Murph.
business,
They're not learning
Alpha told
because they
me-
don't want to. They're not learning because they don't want to. And you and I talked about this.
yes, Alpha told me if you're booked on a show, you do the show, even if you don't feel like driving the 2-3 hours together. If you're booked on a show, you do the show.
Absolutely.
If you're told you're putting so and so over, you put him over. Why? Because you're working. That man, that promoter,
Yeah.
is paying for the ring, the sound system,
Sure.
the insurance, the hall, plus the wrestlers.
Yeah.
It's all coming out of his pile. A lot of people think promoters make a shit ton of money. A lot of promoters out there in the indie circuit, they're lucky if they walk away from a show working off the door. They're lucky if they walk away breaking even.
Hey, Murph. Interesting segue. A very good segue.
Well, I'm good that way.
This month is 20-year anniversary of December the 16th, 2001.
Yes, it
Our
is.
20th anniversary. That show took place in a major hotel casino in Atlantic City.
Yes, it did. I was on that show.
You were on that show. We had, you want to talk about what promoters go through? We had a box office manager cash in $2,500 worth of tickets and skip town.
Yeah.
That's legit. That's a straight shoot.
Yeah.
Okay. On the
Mhm.
books, it looked like we sold $40,000 worth of tickets
Yeah.
in an 800-seat venue. We were lucky to put 300 people in there before intermission. After intermission, it dwindled substantially because Jimmy Snuka wrestled just before intermission on that show. After Snuka wrestled, everybody went home. Or they went into the casino and spent money.
But see, Angelo, a lot of people didn't realize who else was on that show. You
Chris
had
Candido and
Brad
Sonny.
Patriot. You had Jimmy Snuka. You had Chris Candido, the late Chris Candido, may he rest in peace. The late Chris Candido and Sonny. Not to mention the other work, the indie workers that were working the show.
Well, we had Pretty Boy Larry Sharp, Gary Michael Capetta.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gary Michael Capetta, WWF
yes.
ring announcer, and
Simpson.
NWA, WCW ring announcer, who, by the way, was a guest on this show, and he will be back. He doesn't know it yet, but he's coming back. But here's the thing. and it does take an awful lot of work, and people don't understand that. And promoters don't get the respect they deserve.
Right.
Oftentimes, and Murphy, you know this to be true. I went into my pocket. If we took a loss on a show, I went into my personal pocket to pay guys.
Yep.
Even if they didn't work that night, I paid them because they showed up.
And I want to add
how
something
I
to
roll.
that. I want to add something to that. When it came that night, when it came for me to get paid, I went to Angelo and I see him reaching in his pocket, not an envelope. And I said to him, I said, look, if you're pulling this out of your pocket, don't worry about it. Pay one of the other boys.
Yeah.
Make sure the other boys get paid.
Yep.
And he goes, no, I'm going to pay. I said, yeah, but I don't want you dipping into your own pocket.
Well,
See,
and that's the problem, though. And Granny, I want you to understand this. Far more often than people realize, a promoter goes into his pocket to pay the boys.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially if you have a name on your show.
Yeah, and
you know,
and as a promoter, if you want people in those seats, you've got to promote that show. You can't just just throw something out there here and there. I mean, yeah, word of mouth advertising, that's great too, but you have got to promote that show.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
This has been probably 10 or 12 years ago, and I knew some people, and they were trying to start a little independent federation. I mean, very small, and I was trying to help them promote. I was trying to help them.
Yeah,
and they didn't promote it like they should have done. So the crowd wasn't that great.
Right.
And it tore me up so much. I mean, I cried. I did. I literally cried. And I had two very good wrestling friends. One of them is gone now. He's been gone about 9 years. God rest his soul. I loved him dearly. And, they told me, they said, Granny, you cannot beat yourself up about this. This was not your fault. And I said, I know it wasn't my fault, but I have such a passion as a fan.
Sure.
That's why I would never want to be a promoter, because I know what it takes to do this.
Yeah.
I went to a show here.
Work. It really is a lot of work.
I went to a show here just last Sunday here in Fayetteville, Arkansas. They had it up here at our local mall. It used to be a movie theater, and the place is called Gymnastic Joe's now. Part of it is he uses it for gymnastics. Part of it he rents out. The other part of it for events.
Sure.
But this promoter, this guy, I tell you, Chris, oh my gosh, he started promoting. They sold out front row, second row, general admission. I mean, they were selling tickets at the door. They started selling $5 tickets, standing room only. Now, this venue was not very big, but they had to start turning people away because it sold out. I mean, it sold out, and it was a great show. And they're having another show in Siloam Springs, Arkansas, January 29th.
Right.
I can't wait. I mean,
beautiful.
But but you're talking about the promoters, and everything. And I gotta share this, because
sure, go for it.
I went to what was supposed to be a wrestling show in Pittsburgh, Kansas, probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
And they had Abyss on the card. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Well, the promoter is an absolute, I'm sorry, I'm going to say douchebag, because that's what he is.
Okay.
Okay.
This
guy shows up at the event. This guy shows up at the event.
Yeah.
In a pair of pajama pants and a t-shirt. Okay.
Are you shitting me?
No, I'm not. I am not. And he tried to blame my one friend who was selling tickets for him that lived in Pittsburgh. I mean, it was like the show was going to be inside of a club. I mean, the ring, they got the ring there, and the owner of the venue thought it was going to be like high school wrestling. They thought they were going to wrestle on mats. I mean, and so they got the ring set up, and there was no way they could have that show in there because the ceilings were too low.
Oh my
and
God.
I mean, you know, and this promoter tried to blame my friend that lived in Pittsburgh that, you know, that this was all his fault, and it wasn't, because the promoter didn't do his job.
Right.
You know.
Well, can I ask a pretty stupid question? I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
It's really kind of basic question. Did anyone go and size up the building first?
Well, my friend went and talked to the owner of the building, and he explained.
God.
I mean, you know, but irregardless, long story short, they didn't end up having the show. Okay.
That's the kind of shit that pisses me off, because it gives promoters a bad name.
Well, this promoter has tried to do other shows, other places. He has screwed workers out of their money. He has screwed big name talent out of their money.
Unbelievable.
I mean, my one friend I had two friends that picked up Abyss at the airport, basically. My one friend gave Abyss frequent flyer miles that he had so Abyss could get back home. They ended up doing an autograph signing, okay? Now, I paid for VIP front row tickets, meet and greet. I paid $125 for 3 tickets.
In what town is this?
This was in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
In Pittsburgh, Kansas, a fucking nowhere, in the middle of no place.
Well, irregardless, okay.
Oh no, I'm not letting this one go. It's like irregardless, fucking nothing. Here's the problem. There's a lot of problems here, and we're not going to let this one go. Absolutely not. Some podunk promoter in the middle of butthole Kansas is charging $1.25 a head for a VIP. No, hold on. Okay. For a VIP meet and greet with a celebrity wrestler who doesn't show.
No. Abyss showed up.
But he didn't wrestle.
They didn't end up doing the wrestling show. They had other wrestlers that were on this card, and they ended up having to, and they just did a meet and greet with Abyss, an autograph signing with Abyss.
God, you gotta be shitting.
Okay, so anyways, this promoter has contacted me twice within the past 3 years, telling me that he was going to refund my money to me and inviting me to other shows that he was going to be putting on. Yeah. Well, first of all, I have still yet to see that money that he still wants back, and I'll never see it.
You won't. You'll never see it.
But the thing is, this promoter, I'm surprised nobody has killed him by now because of what he has done to.
This is why when you work like I do, you have a guy like Mike Murphy Armageddon show up with you, and you size up the building with him because he has to work that building. He also plays a secondary role. If somebody fails to pay me my money, Mr. Murphy is my negotiator. Let's put it that way. Okay? I'll get my money. Understand that. I will always get my money. And if I were in Kansas right now, I'd have your money for you in your pocket, Granny.
I know you would.
Trust me, kid. We don't fuck around.
You know, but it's people like that give wrestling a bad name.
Yes.
You know, this is why I get so passionate. This is why I get pissed off.
because Abyss was really nice. And he told me, he says, Granny, he says, I'm really sorry we didn't get to have this Monster Ball match because I would have had you in my corner.
Well, Joe is a really great guy.
He is. He was really nice.
He's a great guy.
Really
and he's a gentleman. And more importantly, he is a professional. He's always a professional. Murph.
I'll tell you what. One thing I've learned, if you're a promoter in the wrestling business, you can't be a nice guy. You have to be a prick. If you're a prick in the wrestling business as a promoter, that's how you're going to get by. You can't be a nice guy. When it comes to the money, and a lot of people may say, oh, no, he's wrong. But if you're going to be in the wrestling business as a promoter, you can't be a nice guy, because as soon as the wrestlers find out you're a nice guy, they're going to walk all over you.
Well, they tried to do that to me, Murph, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a reputation as a nice guy promoter.
Yeah.
Try to fuck me over. See how nice of a guy I am if you try to fuck me over.
Yeah, and what did I tell you? I said, you got to stop that.
Yeah.
I said, you got to stop being such a nice guy. I said, these guys will take advantage of you every chance they get.
Guess what? And you know this to be true. Not a one of them has ever taken advantage of me. Not financially, not in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I've ruined a couple of careers of people who thought they were going to get over on me. Guys that you'll never see and never heard of and won't hear of.
Now, one thing I want to bring up, and it's kind of off the topic, but one thing I want to bring up.
Go for it.
And it happened last week. I'm sure we all saw the Seth Rollins attack video.
What was that all about?
After I saw
a couple things I want to ask you, Murphy.
Well, which after I saw it, I could say, okay, that was a work. But I've seen it happen. I've had it happen to me. If you're a wrestling fan, and I just want to put this out there, if you're a wrestling fan, go to the show, have a good time, interact with the wrestlers, have fun. Do not be stupid and go after one of the wrestlers, because once you go after one of us,
you're on my turf now.
It's you're in my world now, and I'm going to do whatever I got to do to protect myself.
Sure. First of all, the Seth Rollins incident, and I'm going to call bullshit on the bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, it was work.
Because it's a work. It's a work. It's a work. There was no way that a fan, a quote fan, was getting behind security, past security, into the back trenches, into what we call the inner sanctum. No fan is allowed back there. No fan is allowed access back there without identification on 4 points. Okay? It's not a 1 point. It's not a 2 point. It's a 4-point ID system. And if you don't know what that means, good, because I'm not telling you. That means it's just protected that much more.
Yeah.
But this guy got past 4 points of security. Not happening, not in this world. That was a plant. He was a work. And because the way that guy executed that spear was too fucking good.
Yeah.
Okay? It was too good. That was like a rated R superstar edge spear. Mm-hmm. That was done with precision. Okay? I'm going to tell you what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Vince McMahon is losing the fucking battle big time. But he's got to do something. He's got to do something, Granny and Murph, to get eyeballs on his product. Well, how do you do that? Eric Bischoff said it simply. Controversy creates cash. Okay? Something controversial. The eyeballs come to your television. What does that mean? How does that translate into cash? Advertisers love that shit. You understand?
Oh, yeah,
and if you're coming to their product, they're supporting WWE programming. They're putting up all this big bucks for them, and you're paying for it. Whether you know it or not, you are. Understand this. I don't have anything against Vince McMahon other than I don't like him and he killed the wrestling business. Other than that, I'm sure Vince McMahon is a fine fucking human being. I said this before and I'm going to say it again.
When he was young.
The only way WWE is going to survive as a wrestling company is if, God forbid, Vince McMahon passes away, or B, he's smart enough to walk away and hand the reins over to Paul and Stephanie. Then that company has a chance. But as long as Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard are at the helm of that company, it's doomed to failure, and it's doomed now. It's dying a slow, horrific death.
Yeah.
It's not a wrestling company. Folks, I'm telling you, I love you, and you know I'm speaking from my heart. It's not wrestling. It
Granny,
never
what's
was.
your opinion of WWE?
Well, I haven't watched WWE a lot lately because I'm usually on Monday nights for Raw. I'm getting ready to do my podcast with Icon, you know, on Monday nights. And so I don't really, I haven't watched a lot of WWE lately. I mean, I've had a lot of friends wrestling friends that, matter of fact, one of my good wrestling friends, a couple of different times, he's been the cameraman and he got taken out by Brock Lesnar.
There you go.
I asked him at a show here recently that I saw him at here in Arkansas. I said, how did that feel to be taken out by Brock Lesnar? And he's like, oh my gosh. He says, it was horrific, Granny. He says, I can only imagine, I can't, he said it was something else. And I mean, one of my other good wrestling friends, and this has been back in 2016, because the reason why I remember this date was because it was my birthday and I was in getting my left knee replaced on my birthday. I was in the hospital and I woke up and we were watching Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
And his wrestling character, he was called Americos. He was a masked wrestler. He wrestled for traditional championship wrestling for a long time. He was out of Texas. He was wrestling against Braun Strowman.
Okay.
And I told my husband, I said, David, wake up. I said, look, I know I'm highly medicated, but look who's on Monday Night Raw.
That's funny.
And he told me, and when I saw him at another wrestling show, I asked him, I said, what was that like? And he said, Braun came up to him after the match and put his arm around his shoulder and patted me on my back and said, thanks for making me look good, kid.
Exactly. Exactly. The other thing I want to talk about that I got a big problem with. Again, got to pull Vinnie Mac out of the dark ages and kind of bitch slap him a little bit. What's the fucking deal with this golden egg? What the hell is this shit? The golden egg.
I don't even know what it is.
Okay, I want to tell you what it is. Vince McMahon came up with this storyline. You can't make this shit up, because this is how out of touch he is. He had a golden egg in his office, okay? The golden egg goes missing, okay? Goes missing, unquote. Somebody steals his egg. Everybody's a suspect now. Everybody's under suspicion.
I saw the picture of the egg on Facebook.
You know what I'm talking about now. Okay.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Okay. Has someone told this man, oh, that's a great idea? Who comes up with this shit? That is a Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard specialty. Stupid storylines.
It's also why I don't watch it.
And if you want good topical storylines, you need to bring back my friend Vince Russo. Vince created the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Vince is a friend of this show. He's been here a bunch of times. He's a great guy. People don't like him because what he says is true. Just like I get, you got to see the hate mail I get. You don't even want, even want to fucking know. Okay. But then they listen to the show. They forget what they're looking at. Just listen. That's what I tell people. Don't go to YouTube. Listen to the show on the radio or from a streaming site or on a podcast. You've got 600 different ways to listen to our show. Okay. Here's what I'm telling you. Listen to the message. The message is storylines are dead in wrestling. So, because they're trying to dazzle you with flip, flop, and fly. They're trying to dazzle you with spectacular aerial dynamics. Okay, well, this is not the circus, and you're not a fucking acrobat, asshole. You're a professional wrestler. And if you do not understand the difference between the two, get the fuck out of my business because you're killing it. Okay? Yeah. Get the fuck out of my business now. So I can sit back and enjoy the pleasure of Mr. Murphy's company and Granny's company and have an intelligent conversation with people who understand the business because you clearly do not. Yeah. Okay? Go ahead, Murphy.
It's like the old saying, if you can't dazzle them with wit, baffle them with bullshit.
Absolutely. You know, our friend Nikita Brezhnikov said that Nikolai Volkov used to say to him all the time, bullshit can get you a long way, but it cannot take, bullshit can take you a long way. Bullshit can get you to the top, but it cannot keep you there.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. Because at some point, people are going to start smelling the bullshit.
They're going to call you on it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So, Granny, you are going to have a story to take with you to KENS Radio 89.1 FM in Fargo, North Dakota. You're going to report back to them that Mad Dog DeCipio has lived up to his name. He's a crazy man. He's fucking nuts. He curses a lot. And this is the guy they call America's psychic bad boy. I have earned my name and I earned my reputation.
Yes.
By the way, Murph, I'm doing 2.5 hours with this radio station in January. I'm the only guest for the entire 2-hour show.
Well, we'll see.
God help them.
Yeah, God help us all. That's all I can say.
I'm telling you what, lady, you got no idea. I am very good at what I do. I will assure you. No, you know, all bullshit aside, I am very good at what I do. And that's all. That's as much as I'll put myself over, because there are thousands of people who'll do it for me.
Let me say, Granny, it was a pleasure having you on the show with us. It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much.
Meeting you. I really enjoyed it.
Granny, I want you to give your social. Tell everybody where they can hear you. What time is your show airing nowadays? Tell everybody about KENS Radio 89.1 FM in Fargo, North Dakota.
Okay, well, Attitude Era Live, Monday night, 9 o'clock Central Time to 11 Central Time. Just call in and listen, and, you know, we have a really fun time. Big Swing, he's been doing a lot of double duty lately, so since we've been on the radio station, he's not able to join us a lot, you know, especially during football season. He's got other obligations, but
sure.
I'm there every Monday night with Icon, you know, I mean, unless I have something.
And where can they hear the show?
Well, you know, Kansas FM 80 Fargo, North Dakota 83.1, I mean, is where they can hear the show. I know we used to advertise. They can hear it in North Dakota. Where can they hear it nationally? They have to go onto Blog Talk Radio for that. I guess maybe they still can hear it on Blog Talk. I don't know, since we're doing it live on the radio station now. I'm not sure if Blog Talk still carries.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I need you to find out for me.
Okay.
That's really important because right now we're hitting about 400,000 people right now.
Okay.
Right, like tonight.
I can definitely try to find out for you. I mean, you know, I'm surprised Icon didn't answer that question for you, because he would be more apt to know that than I would.
To be honest with you, Granny, I don't think Scott knew. I know that he was aware of two more radio stations. I think he told me in California.
I know there's a couple other radio stations. It's either wanting to start picking us up or is going to start picking us up. I don't know if that's actually got started yet or not. So
I got you. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I wished him luck, you know, with it, and I wished him well. We're approaching the 270 radio stations, 304 podcast platforms. We are on 2 television networks, one in Canada, one in the UK. We're on the BBC 4 in the UK, and we're on Skynet in Canada. And then what they do is they basically pick up our video feed here. Hey guys, hey Robert, my friend Robert in the UK, and but yeah. So I mean, if you want to get listeners and you want to get people talking about you, as Eric Bischoff said, controversy creates cash. And we do our share here, do we not, Mr. Murph?
Yes, we do.
Absolutely. Granny, it was a great pleasure having you here. Laurie Burt, affectionately known as Granny Hulkster. By the way, did you like the little graphics behind me?
I did. I did. I really love that. I wish you could have gotten the picture of me and my husband and my son with Ricky and Robert. That was from a mid-stage. That was from a mid-stage wrestling legends show in Harrison, Arkansas, back from 2014.
Yeah, I have it.
And that is my Queen of TCW shirt that I would wear. And then the bottom picture that you have of me sitting in the chair holding the sign. Yeah. That was after I had my knee replacement, and they got me one of those really comfortable computer chairs to sit in for the show that night, so I could prop up my knee and my leg. Yeah. And they made that sign for me for my chair. But one of the pictures that I love so much is my husband and I. We got to see Ricky and Robert again a couple years ago at an autograph signing. They were doing an autograph signing to raise money for veterans to get service dogs, which I thought was a really cool cause. And
beautiful.
Robert put his WWE Hall of Fame ring on my finger for the picture. I didn't even ask if I could wear it. I mean, that's how good of friends we are. And then the other picture down in the bottom, my friend Dan Marsh, he did that background, the red and yellow background. That picture was actually taken when I went to Las Vegas a couple years ago for a convention. And one of my wrestling buddies that was a wrestler for years, he says, Granny, he says, you got to do me a really big favor, and it's not going to take much effort on your part. And I said, well, what do you want me to do, Tommy? And he says, well, I want you to have somebody take your picture out in Vegas and send it to me so I can say, Granny Hulkster in Las Vegas. Las Vegas will never be the same.
Granny Hulkster did more talking on this show than she has on Icon's radio show in the last year.
Well, longer than that, dear. Longer than that. So
yeah, because he doesn't let you talk.
Well, and no, he lets me talk. I mean, especially if he has guests on that I know personally.
Yeah.
Which we've had a lot of guests on that I know personally, so that that helps. That helps. But and if anybody wants to find me on Facebook, I'm on Facebook. Laurie Burt is my real name, but Granny Hulkster in parentheses. I was just, if I can, I'd like to plug a show that I'm going to be at this Saturday, if I can, Angelo, if you don't mind.
No, you're not allowed to do that. Of course you are. Go ahead. Of course.
Well, okay. Mulberry, Arkansas, Down South Championship Wrestling. It's going to be DCW Total Chaos. We're going to have a lot of great matches that night. Impact Star Josh Alexander is going to be wrestling against Alexander Gold. And the
I don't know who either of them are. I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. I mean, but like I said, check me out on Facebook. If you have any questions, message me.
And
I'll be glad to
out
try
on
to answer
KNS
your
Radio,
questions.
89.1 FM in Fargo, North Dakota. They are the call letters. Mr. Murphy, you want to tell Granny about our Rock and Roll Express story?
Yeah.
Set them at my house.
I'm trying to. There we are. Can you still see me?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. I met Ricky and Hoot at Angelo's house on a show we were doing over in New Jersey. Many years back.
2 days. They stayed over for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a hell of a time.
Great guys. Yeah. I've watched their career started up until even now.
I've known Vicky and Robert for 40 years.
They're my favorite tag team.
Great guys. Great guys. I used to live near Ricky in Tennessee. He lived up in Bristol, Tennessee. Robert lived in Pensacola. Yeah, Robert lived in Pensacola, Florida at the time.
The first time we got to meet Ricky and Robert was at Traditional Championship Wrestling. They opened for the Tennessee State Fair.
Yeah.
And we went to Nashville for the show. And my son, he walked up to Robert and he says, well, my mom had a major crush on you back in her younger days.
You know, it's funny that she mentioned that, Murph, because down south, this is the thing. Here's the thing between the North and the South. Down south is the only place that I know of that you can see a wrestling show at a state fair. We've never had them up here. Not that I know. I can tell you in New Jersey we have not.
And the great thing about this particular show was we drove to the fairgrounds, and I hadn't even had my first knee replacement surgery yet. Because like I said, this was in September 2013. So I was walking with a cane, and I got to the fairground and I saw the parking lot, and they had a little area roped off for handicap parking, but I was going to have to walk up this like steep hill at an angle, like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was going to have to walk from like point A over here to the opposite side of the fairground. And I'm like, I told my husband, I said, man, I can't walk that far. So that morning we were all having breakfast at the hotel, and Johnny Morton comes up and he says, Granny, before I forget, when you come to the fairgrounds today for the show, drive up the side road and tell the security guard that you're with TCW. And I'm like, okay, I didn't think anything about it, so I did.
Sure.
And it was funny. The security guard asked me, he says, well, do you have any credentials? And I said, well, I had my Granny Hulkster TCW shirt on. I said, I'm Granny Hulkster, got my tickets for the show. And he says, oh, you're here for the show? I said, yes, sir. But I was told to tell you that I was with them because I cannot walk long distances because I have knee problems and I'm walking with a cane. So they made arrangements for me to be able to park right by the building.
That's beautiful.
I mean, they always took care of me. I mean, and when they did their TV tapings, they always made sure I was on the front row, in the center seat, facing the cameras. Yeah. Because they knew I would always interact, with the wrestlers. I mean,
well, I'll tell you,
Dreamer,
we're gonna put you over like $1 million. It's Granny Hulkster, Laurie Burt, KENS Radio, 89.1 FM, Fargo, North Dakota, live every Monday night with Scott, the Icon Hamres, and once in a while the Big Swing, whenever he decides to show up. For Granny Hulkster, for Michael Murphy, Armageddon. My name is Angelo Mad Dog DeCipio. We'll take care. We'll see you next time. Happy wrestling, and continue to wrestle with the future. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.